Hello everybody, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining after this heavy lunch, a wonderful lunch. So before we deep dive into the topic, a background about me. So this is Sonia Valeja. I'm working with Percona currently for the last 3+ years. I started working with PostgreSQL in the year 2012. Since then, it has been a long journey, like almost more than a decade. I've worked as a PostgreSQL DBA, PGConf developer, migration expert, and now recently I have co-authored a book with another Perconian, David. He's from Mexico. The name is PostgreSQL for Job Seekers. This is a QR code in case you want to buy. And I am an instructor for a LinkedIn learning course on pgBackRest. This session has a lot of topics which are not there in that course, and this session also has the topic which are there in that course. So please do not get disappointed if you have already watched the LinkedIn learning course on pgBackRest. Okay, so coming to the topic, the outline, as you are aware, we are going to start with an introduction to pgBackRest and then some key features, and then how do we set up pgBackRest, what are the different backup types which pgBackRest supports. There are some wonderful types of backups which it supports. I will go in detail when the stage comes, and then we'll have a demo and then some resources. So pgBackRest, PG for PostgreSQL, back for backup, rest restoration. So Postgres backup and restoration tool. It's an open source tool and it has a good community support. You can find the code on GitHub, and it can support complex backup requirements. I will give you some key features, what all complex things it supports. We'll take the questions towards the end because there is a chance when you see the demo, most of your doubts might get cleared. So key features of pgBackRest: it supports full backup, incremental backup. Before, like the initial versions of Postgres also, it supports incremental backup. It can also take differential backup. I will cover what is differential backup in the upcoming slides. It does the compression, it does encrypts the backup for the security reasons. Retention policies are there. So retention policies with respect to full backup, retention policies with respect to differential backup is also there. And then it takes the backup remotely. When I say remotely, we can take the backup via a dedicated backup server. We can also take the backup on the same server where the database is installed. Also, the database backup can be taken onto the cloud, like directly. It can we can create a repository and it can go to the cloud. Even hybrid clouds are supported. When I say hybrid clouds, like I can have multiple repositories. One repository can be in, let's say in AWS. Another repository can be in GCP or some other cloud. Even if we are using some open source cloud, I mean it does support many clouds. So we can take multiple copies of the backups remotely and then literally throw the backup to the cloud environment, to another data center, to any another dedicated backup server. Depending upon the architecture and the requirement, we can do so. Then there are a lot of other features as well. It's not possible to cover each and every part of it. These are some well-known features, the useful ones, which I have covered in the slide. So how do we set up pgBackRest, or how do we install or configure pgBackRest? So this installation is very simple, same as like the Postgres is getting in, like we install PostgreSQL using the package manager. Same way as pgBackRest also can be done. We can also do the source code installation. It has an extensive documentation, so each and every step is mentioned, how to do source code build, how to do like using the package manager, and I will also cover in, like it's a simple command, a single command, and we can install using package manager. So, and majority of the commands are covered in the user guide of the documentation. Configuration, specifically in the configuration, I would like to cover up one thing, which is the stanza. Like before taking the backup, while we are configuring the pgBackRest, we need to create the stanza. Stanza is kind of a metadata of the backup which we are going to take. It is going to store the metadata or the configurations, and we have this special file called pgBackRest.conf. This is a file which will actually contain the dynamic configuration or the configurable part, like I want to set up some repository, I want to have the host details about the dedicated backup server, or let's say the cloud, or anything related which is like dynamic, or which a user can define. That will go in the pgBackRest.conf file, and stanza is something which is required internally for pgBackRest to manage, like it is storing the kind of a metadata, we can say. So backup types. As I mentioned earlier, there are 3 backup types which pgBackRest supports. Full backup, everyone is aware about full backup. It is going to take the backup of the entire cluster. When I talk about PostgreSQL databases, it is mostly in the sense of cluster. Cluster is a combination of multiple databases. So it takes a physical file level backup. So entire cluster will get backed up when I am taking the full backup. When it comes to incremental backup, again, it's like after the full backup, whatever changes are done, those will come in the incremental backup. And again, when I take the second incremental backup, it needs the full backup file as well as the last incremental backup file as well. So for example, I'm taking backups in full backups during the weekend. For example, on Sundays when the load is comparatively low, or when my non-peak hours are there for any business. So I prefer to take it on Sunday, for example, the full backup. So on Monday, incremental backup will go. Tuesday also incremental backup will go. On Wednesday also incremental backup will go. And let's say I want to perform a point-in-time recovery on Wednesday for some date and time of the Wednesday. Then in that case, it is going to restore all the backups starting from the last full backup. So full backup of Sunday, then Monday, then Tuesday, and the point-in-time recovery date and time is of Wednesday. So like till that part of Wednesday, whatever the time you are giving, that it is going to need. When it comes to differential backup, let's understand with the example. Full backup on Sunday, differential backup on all the weekdays, for example. So Monday, differential backup. Tuesday also differential backup. Let's say Wednesday, I am taking a differential backup. And now after Wednesday's differential backup, I want to do PITR, point in time recovery, for example. So how it is going to perform in case of differential? What will happen? First of all, let me let you know that what is this differential, how it is different from the incremental backup. So full backup, we all know. Monday, incremental and differential backup, there is no difference. It's all same. Whatever changes are there after the full backup which was taken on Sunday, till Monday, whenever the backup is going on, those changes will come in incremental as well and differential as well. But when it comes to Tuesday, Tuesday's backup is going to accommodate all the changes of last full backup. So after full backup of Sunday, differential changes of Monday and Tuesday will cover up in the Tuesday's backup. So there is no need for me to restore the Monday's incremental backup when it comes to differential backup of Tuesday, because Tuesday's backup is also containing the backup of Monday. In case of incremental, it is not the case. It will only cover up the changes which are there from the last incremental backup, right? So Wednesday also, Wednesday will cover up all the changes of Monday, Tuesday and the Wednesday till the time that backup is going to take. So when I am performing a point in time recovery on Wednesday, that point in time, it is going to restore the full backup and the differential backup of the Wednesday. It is going to skip Monday and Tuesday's backup, because there is no need for that. Wednesday will itself cover up Monday's and Tuesday's backup. So what is an advantage? The time taken to restore will be less in case of differential backup, but the disadvantage is it will occupy more disk space because it is covering like more amount of data, right? So that's the difference between incremental backup and the differential backup. I hope it is clear. It will get more clear when we see the demo. Okay, for the demo, so this is the environment which I have created. Like instead of going to the slides, let me literally go to the instance first. So I'm going to store the backup on the local storage. I'm going to create the directories, and in those directories I'm going to store the backup locally. I'm not going to store it in cloud or any other environment for the ease of of keeping the setup and the demo like easily understandable to everybody. Okay. So I have two servers. It's not master slave kind of an architecture at this point in time. I've installed PostgreSQL in both, and let's see how do I configure the pgBackRest. I think it is not there. I will install it from the scratch. Yeah, it's not there. So let's install. All these commands which I am going to type over here are also there in the PPT, and I've tried to keep as many screenshots as possible and as many test scenarios as possible. I will try to cover up whatever we could cover, and anyways it's a lot of scenarios are also covered in the course itself, so you can go and watch there also after this session. So it's a simple thing. Okay, so I'm just checking. Now I get the command. Student down. Okay. Okay, so the latest version is installed. So we are going to configure it now, like we did the installation in a couple of minutes, not even minutes. So in this configuration, as you can see on the screen, there are some commands to create certain directories and files. So we are going to configure the log file where the logs of the pgBackRest will go, the configuration file, as well as we are going to create a repo which is locally available on this database server. Okay. So the repo is data/backups, and the configuration files you can see like normal configuration files with proper user and ownership. So I am not going in detail about each and every command, like it is going to create the three things: the configuration file, the log file, and the backup directory. So I'm literally going to copy paste and it will be ready. It's a simple command. I mean, mkdir and chown and chmod and things like that. So we'll spend more time when I will execute the pgBackRest related commands. So I'm creating a repo now and assigning proper user and the proper permissions. So everything will be owned by Postgres user over here. Okay, so now I'm going to, let me check the version. Yeah, the cluster is up. So I'm going to create this pgBackRest.conf file. So it is a default path which is also mentioned in the pgBackRest documentation. It is etc pgBackRest pgBackRest.conf. Is it visible everywhere, or shall I increase the font? No need? Okay. So we are creating this file. Let me just copy paste the contents and we'll go each and every parameter which is mentioned over here one by one. Okay, let me get it. Before that, let me clear the screen. Okay, so my stanza, this is the name of my stanza. I can put ABC, I can put test, demo, anything depending upon your requirement. I can put the name. There is no like restriction on the naming. And the only condition is this stanza name will be referred in archive command. We are also going to configure the archive command. So we need to just make sure that this is the stanza name present on this configuration file and in my archive command should be same. Then I am going to put a PG path, like the data directory path. It is like I have 17 version installed over here. So the data directory path, the default path, and the user via which the backup is going to run, which is Postgres user. You can change the user as well, but we are keeping it short, simple and easy way. We can have the port like PG1 host port, that is a parameter. You can put the port name as different if you want, I mean if you have a different port other than the one which is 5432, the default port. And over here you can see it is PG1 in these parameters. So in case of high availability environment, when you have master slave kind of an architecture, so you will be having PG1 as as my master, PG2 if you put like PG2 path, PG2 host user, that way it becomes the configurations of the slave database. Then this global, this remains the same. This global, this has to be like this only. This section, repo 1 path, again as I said, I can have multiple repos. I gave a lightning talk long back, I think 1 or 2 years ago, on multi-repo functionality of pgBackRest. So this is a repository on which my backup will reside. So currently I am going to have only one repository, which is the path is data/backups. If I have multiple repositories, I can have repo 2 path, then repo 2 host, repo 2 retention, that way it will go. So data backups, my path of the repository, the user, and retention, I am taking full backups as like I need minimum of 2 full backups available in my repository any point in time, except the first time which I am taking, it will be only 1 backup. I can have repo 1 retention diff, DIFF. Okay. So full backup will be taken FULL full, incremental INCR. For that we don't have any retention because it has to be taken in a sequential format, sequential manner compulsorily. So and then differential, it will be like repo 1 retention dash DIFF, and I can have 2, 3, 4 like depending upon the business requirement. So for right now I am putting keeping as full. Then these are some other parameters apart from the repo, which is like log level file equal to detail. So it is going to print the detailed logs. And then archive timeout like 1000 milliseconds. Start fast equal to y. What is y? Start fast equal to y means whenever this backup will get triggered, PostgreSQL, it is a command to PostgreSQL database to issue a checkpoint so that the logical end of the transaction happens. The forceful checkpoint will occur. It is not going to hit that much of performance, but forceful checkpoint is going to get occurred and then the backup will start. So if I don't put it y, it won't happen. Yeah. So normally we prefer to put it, and there are ample of parameters available on the user guide of the pgBackRest documentation. Most of them are self understood. You can just like read out the names and understand what it does. But the each and every description of each and every parameter is given in the documentation itself, but we are taking the ones which are normally frequently used. Okay. After the configuration, now what am I going to do is, the first thing which I am going to do is to create the stanza. Remember I said initially stanza is kind of a metadata which is required by pgBackRest in the background. So we are going to create a stanza. Now each and every command, not each and every command, but then most of the commands which we are discussing over here, they will have similar kind of the format which I have shown on the screen. So it starts with pgBackRest, then the configuration file. This is optional, but some companies have their own path also for the config file. They prefer to keep it the custom path. So we need to provide the path of the configuration file. If it is default, here I can skip this parameter, but I have purposefully put it so that like from the beginning itself, everybody has this habit of having this configuration file. So dash dash config, the path of the configuration file, then the stanza, the name of the stanza which we have mentioned in the pgBackRest.conf, log level console. So if you see on the top in the pgBackRest.conf, I have this log level file equal to detail. So the logs which are there in the log file of pgBackRest that are mentioned in pgBackRest.conf file. Here in my command, if it is log level console, that means on the console it will print the logs. So if I put it over here info, it will show the information part only. If I put detailed, it will give me the detailed logs, which will also go in the log file, because we have set the parameter in the conf file also. And then the last, this part will remain the same, the config part, the stanza name, log level console, all these attributes of the command will remain same in most of the things which we will be doing. Towards the end, if I am taking the backup, the command will change. If I am taking a stanza creation, it is stanza dash create. If I am checking the information of the backup, it will, this stanza create, this part will get replaced with info. So I will show you, you will get accustomed with how it works. So it's a simple command, self understood. So I'm going to create a stanza, and let me put a detail over here instead of putting info, and then see. So fraction of seconds and stanza got created. Now I'm going to check the check command. It is going to check before taking the backup. I usually prefer to execute this check command to find out if it is fulfilling the requirements of the configuration required to take the backup. If anything is missing, not missing, this command, if it is showing the error, it will also show the hints, and then accordingly you can troubleshoot what is missing, what is not missing, what is incorrect, etc. So I'm expecting an error over here. Let's see. So as you can see, I'm getting an error, archive mode must be enabled. I've purposefully not enabled it. We are going to enable it now, and then we'll check it one more time, the check command. So if I go and check the PSQL, let's first check whether it is telling correctly or not. So my archive command will be disabled, and I think I forgot to on the mode also. Let me check. It is off. So I have to on it, and to on this archive mode, I have to restart the Postgres service, which I will do. So I will configure both the commands together. If archive mode would have been configured initially, like it was on, then there was no need for the restart. But then since it is off, we will restart. Enabling it. This is PostgreSQL basics. I am not going much in detail. Why restart this, that. So archive command should be like this: pgBackRest, stanza name, and archive push. Okay. So it's a similar pattern. If we are putting a normal archive command also, it will be a similar pattern, but here it is coming with the words of pgBackRest and stanzas and things like that. But otherwise, it is a similar pattern if we are pushing the archive. Okay, so that has been enabled, and it will not put an impact if it is not restarted. The service is not restarted. So I'm going to restart the service. Okay. So I'm going to execute the check command again. Let's see this time if I'm getting any error or, yeah, so it is completed successfully. This is a mandatory requirement. The archive command should be like configured the way it wants. Okay. Now the time has come. We'll take the full backup. Before that, I just want to show you what my things like, what is there in this cluster. So it has like multiple databases, and if I see Postgres database, I have one table and some tables in other DBs as well, I believe. Okay, so like test data is there, and I'm now going to take the backup. Before that, I want to show one more command, and then after take the backup. After that, take the backup. So this is the info command. If I execute it now, no valid backups found, because we have freshly installed the tool, we have freshly configured it. Right now it is showing like no valid backups. If I run the backup command, I mean if I take the backup and then execute this again, it will show the backup information. So like I'm not going in detail again and again, just like this is a similar thing, pgBackRest, configuration path, stanza name, log level console, and towards the end I'm just replacing whatever command I want, which is like previously it was check, before that it was stanza create, now it is info. Now if I want to take the backup, it is as simple as this, just adding this line. Backup, what is the type of the backup? So the type of the backup, the first backup, I'm going to take full backup. I'm having the detail log on the console at this point. Let's just see how it is going. So same logs you will be finding in the log file also, where log pgBackRest. Oh, I thought it's a test data. It's a huge thing. Okay, so it is completed successfully. Now I'm going to execute the info command one more time, and this time it is showing me some backup, the details about that backup. Yeah. So let's take the incremental backup. I am not going to copy paste the command now for the incremental backup. I am just literally replacing full to incr. Okay. So this is the keyword or the value or the attribute for incremental, incr. So like there was nothing to take the backup because we just took the full backup, so it will get completed faster. So again I am going to execute the info. Yeah, so I have this full backup. Below that there is an incremental backup, the date and time of the backup. Of course in your production environment you will be having a lot of things. It has just occupied KBs because of the metadata which it has to report or has to register. Now I am going to take the differential backup as well. Normally we don't do it that way, but just for the sake of testing we will replace the words or the values. So I will put DIFF. Okay, so this is the differential backup. Again if I put the info, so I have full backup, I have differential backup, I have incremental backup. At this point I do not have anything in my incremental and the differential backup. Both will be same or like almost empty, but then this is how the backup is taken. Okay, so the main part comes now. Everybody can take the backup. The main part comes, the main test scenario comes when the restoration happens. It should be successful. That is the main like end goal. So we'll restore. So there are lot of scenarios, like I can restore over here single database as well. Like as you can see in my cluster there are multiple databases, right? So if I want to restore a single database, that is possible. But for the restoration, it's like I said earlier that it is taking the file system level backup, the physical backup. Yeah. So it is not the case that it is going to restore, you know, just those specific things or just those specific metadata. Internally it is going to store everything, but like everything as in the form of metadata. Even if you will see in your PSQL prompt, all the databases will be there, even despite like you are restoring a single backup, but the only one database which will be accessible, which you have restored. The other backup, the other databases will not be accessible. Of course the metadata is there, but then the data is not there inside them. So we will see what kind of error comes when I restore the single backup and then try to access the other databases, like single DB I am restoring. Let me show you, like it will be more clear. So I am going to restore a single database out of all the, like the entire cluster. So what I am going to do over here is, let me put this on the top, like the session should not expire. I have another server configured. This also has Postgres installed. Let me check if the service is up or not. I don't recall. Service is also down, I think. Okay, but the Postgres is there. The prerequisite or the way to restore any backup is, it should not have any data in your data directory. If it is having a data in your data directory, the existing setup, then it is going to do the delta restore. Delta restore means the changes which are like the additional changes on top of whatever is there in your cluster. That is one scenario. If you are going to restore the full backup, it requires empty data directory. The Postgres service should be stopped, it should not be there. The cluster should be there, I mean as in the Postgres installation should be there, and the server, like it is like this is my another database server. The first tab is my main database server, but it is acting as a repository, like as a like it also contains the repository of my database, right? So there should be passwordless authentication between these two servers, because for this particular server, the second tab, this database, the other server acts like a repo server or a dedicated backup server. Yeah, so there should be passwordless authentication between the two. So I should be able to access both the servers to and fro without using any password for a PostgreSQL user. So you will be having this key configuration, RSA key configurations, or some key configurations you will be doing, which you would have definitely done in your projects. So I'm not like going in those details, but yeah, there is a passwordless authentication between these two servers that is already set up, and this server also should have the same version of pgBackRest as that of repo. So I'm going to show you the pgBackRest.conf file over here. Currently Postgres is down. I've kept it down purposely because I'm going to restore it anyways. I have to down it one more time then. So let's see the pgBackRest.conf file. So it is the same thing, just the difference. So see, stanza path, stanza related details, same as the one which was there in my dedicated backup server. Repo1 host, for this second tab, this server becomes my repo, and I've entered the IP address or the host name, you can enter. The path and on which the database backups are available, so data backups, Postgres the repo user, and same like whatever configurations I'll put over there, that I prefer to put. I prefer to put like keep both the files having the similar or same attributes, except the dedicated backup server related details, which will be different because that server is not having a dedicated backup server. This server has, which is the IP address of the first server, and then those same details, log level file and archive timeout and start fast or whatever you are putting over there, that should be also coming over here. So this is my pgBackRest.conf file, and passwordless authentication is already there. Currently the Postgres service is down, and I have main directory or not, let me check. Okay, let me check. Okay, it has some data. It will not allow me to restore. Let me see, like if I'm getting an error. So I'm going to literally restore what? Some database of the old cluster, like the previous cluster. Okay, I'm not going to do delta restore. I am going to put a parameter called db include. So here also you will not see any difference in the command, the initial things, just the keyword restore is introduced newly, I mean not newly as in for the restoration we use this command, and then I'm going to put db include, and let's say I'm including my db. think I have MyDB. Yes, I have MyDB. So I'm including MyDB. I think, okay, let's see if it is getting an error. I think I should get an error, I'm not sure. Unable to restore because it contains file. So it requires an empty data directory. So what I'm going to do is over here is, I'm not going to remove it. I am going to rename it. So let's say, I don't know, 1. And now let me restore it. The Postgres service is stopped, by the way. So that's a prerequisite. The Postgres service should not be up, because it cannot restore in the server which is already up and running. So the console logs are info, so it will take some time. If it is detailed, the screen will keep on scrolling. Okay, so it has restored. After the restoration, I have to start the Postgres service. So we have restored just a single DB. So if I see here, as I mentioned earlier, it is a file system level. It is going to restore majority of the metadata, but data will not be restored for each and every database. It should be restoring data for the database which we have restored. So we restored MyDB. Let me go try to log in in all the databases. So MyDB, it is allowing me to log in. So that had one table, right? Let me check, verify, 1 second. Okay, so my table here also, my table there also. If I check the Postgres will get restored. That's a default thing. So Postgres has T1, there also I am expecting the same. Okay, but let's say if I go to any other database, let's say MyDB, I don't know, 3. So see, if you can see here, I get this error and my prompt has not switched to another database. Here it was switching, right? Here also it switched when I executed this command. But here it is not switching because I have restored only a single database, plus by default it is going to restore the default databases like the Postgres, template and all. But the other custom databases it is not going to restore. So let's say if I log into any other database, MyDB2, this is expected. This also should throw an error. Yeah. So like there was one question somebody asked me on LinkedIn. I want to restore a single database and my database is up and running. If I restore the single database by renaming the existing database to something else, shall I restore it? No, I'm sorry, that's not possible. You can restore it to some test server. From there, whatever data you want, again take the dump of it, or like take the SQL or whatever, extract the SQL and then restore it back in your production. That is quite possible, but you cannot play it directly on the production when the database is up and running and again you are trying to restore. It is not possible because it's a file system level backup. Yeah. So what else? Which scenario we can test now? How much time we have? It's done? Oh, okay. Fine. Actually, I had some scenarios and I was knowing that I will not be able to cover up everything. But each and every with the screenshots, it's there in the slides. They'll share the slides with you all, and majority of the details are mentioned in that course also. So just let me show you that course part. We need to wind up the demo over here. So this is the pgBackRest documentation. You can Google also. And this is a link for the LinkedIn Learning course, okay, and this is a link of my profile. You can scan it. It will take you to my LinkedIn Learning. There you can have everything about the course, everything about the book. So you will have majority of the details, whatever you want, and I am always reachable on the LinkedIn. So you do ping me in case of any doubts.
Thank you, Sonia. You've got one question.
Yeah.
So the very common question which we generally hear from customer is a comparison between pgBackRest and barman. So
And?
what's pgBackRest and barman? Yeah.
Barman. So it is not supporting the complex features like parallelism and a lot of other, I mean, I haven't used like personally on the production environment the barman, I've just used it on the test server, but it has some advanced features like parallelism, encryptions, compression level, like if you have TBs of data and if you are like it takes a lot of time to take the backup, so you can run the multiple threads using parallel, max process is a parameter. So those advanced features are not there. In pgBackRest it's there, not in barman. The major difference is the differential backup. It is not there. It is not there.
A differential backup is the only major difference.
Yeah, it's the major difference.